Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. This is the fifth in our COVID-19 series, and the topic for today is Let's Graduate Online. This is brought to you by the National Council for Marketing and Public Relations. And from our national office in Albuquerque, New Mexico, I'm Debbie Halsey. It's my pleasure to serve as Executive Director. And with me behind the scenes is Kim Browning, NCMPR's Associate Director, who's joining us from Boise, Idaho. We hope everyone with us online today continues to do well and to stay healthy, and that maybe, just maybe, you're settling into a new routine. We wish you continued success as you continue to manage issues related to this COVID-19 crisis. We may not be able to get to all of the questions. In anticipation of that, we've created a new NCMPR Facebook group where you can post follow-up questions for the presenters and follow-up comments to share with colleagues. You can join the group by searching within Facebook for Community College Collaborators COVID-19. And now to today's presentation. Let's meet our presenters. Neil Adler is the Director of Marketing, Public Relations, and Sports Information at Mission College in Santa Clara, California. He has been at Mission College since 2016 and has worked in higher ed since 1998 in the states of California, Oregon, and Alabama. Prior to Mission College, his career was primarily in sports PR and management. As he puts it, there was a little bit of broadcasting and design thrown in. He also lived in Melbourne, Australia, where he earned his master's in communications. Ian Hill is the Director of Business Development with StageClip. It's a company that works with event organizers to create and distribute personalized video clips to attendees to share on social media and increase engagement. He has been building and managing development teams for startups for the last few years and really enjoys helping startups grow. He's also an accomplished musician, chef, author, and athlete. Neil and Ian, we are happy to have you with us. Thanks for joining us and thanks for making today's presentation.
Thank you, Debbie. This is Neil Adler here live from the home office in Campbell, California. And I'd like to welcome in my co-presenter today, Ian Hill, from the other side of the country in Boston, Massachusetts. Hey, Ian, how are you doing today?
Doing all right, Neil. Thank you, Neil. Thank you, Debbie, for having me on as well.
And thank you to NCMPR for doing this webinar this morning. We're going to be talking about graduation. Obviously, with the COVID-19 epidemic that is sweeping the world, a lot of us are asking the question, what are we going to do with graduation online? Myself out here at Mission College, we've had a lot of these questions, and we were able to find StageClip to hopefully answer some of those questions. We're going to kind of go through what Mission College does. This is obviously a suggestion. And then Ian's going to kind of talk about what StageClip does. So a little bit about our marketing office, because there is the question of how big is your office? I'm the marketing director. I have a graphic designer. I have a webmaster and an administrative specialist. So it's not a very big office, but we do a lot of things. We do a lot of great things, and we are excited to do this virtual graduation. Let's talk about the goals of graduation, regardless whether it's online or in person. We focus on the students here at Mission College. We also want to congratulate them and appreciate their accomplishments. They have worked very hard to this point, especially being a community college member, especially being in this COVID-19 situation. With any graduation, they want to celebrate with family and friends. We also want to include the campus community. For Santa Clara, that is in the heart of Silicon Valley, so we really want to bring that brand recognition across the region. Also, it's a great idea that, hey, the year is finished. It's not only an accomplishment for the students, but it's also an accomplishment for the staff and faculty, and kind of celebrate everything that goes on there. In years past, here is what we've been doing with graduation. If you've been to any large sporting event, you see on the big screen social media posts. That is from most likely a company called Tagboard. When I was looking 4 years ago to kind of make our graduation a little bit more engaging, a little bit more social, I reached out to a friend of mine at Loyola Marymount University in Los Angeles, and he was a colleague of mine in the sports PR world. And he said, hey, you know what? I use a company called Tagboard, which grabs a bunch of different social media posts about Loyola Marymount around graduation and posts them. So I said, hey, that's not a bad idea. Why don't I try that too? So what I did was I reached out to Bryce over at Tagboard, and we created something very similar where on our website for about 3-4 days around graduation, we would post social media posts of students graduating, students celebrating. And then during the celebration, as you can see on the right of your screens, we would post these tag boards, and it would be, hey, congratulations, great job. Hey, here's my family, here's my degree. We're really excited about graduation. But now COVID-19 hits. There is not an actual ceremony to put these tag board things on in front of the graduates and their families. Also, we also still want it to be engaging, and we still want to celebrate the accomplishments of our graduates. But how do we do that now online and make it interactive? Some of the decision makers Mission College had to go about this. We obviously had our graduation committee. They have been meeting throughout the fall and the spring and really had two sets of ideas. If we still were going to be at the Santa Clara Convention Center, we had an idea there. And then once we decided to go virtually online, we just kind of swing a little bit. That group not only has faculty and staff and classified professionals, it also has some people from our technology services area. It has the people in our marketing office that I mentioned earlier, our graphic designers, our webmasters, or administrative specialists. Obviously, we have our students at Mission College, and we have involved both Student Activities Office and the Associated Student Government. And finally, to get the buy-in, not only do we send it out to our faculty and our classified professionals and other administrators on campus to get feedback, the ultimate decision comes down to our executive cabinet, which is our 3 vice presidents, and our president of our college, which is Daniel Peck. So getting back to Tagboard real quick, about the same time that all this COVID hit, Bryce called me up and he said, hey, by the way, I know you guys have been working with us for 3 to 4 years. We also have this other software product called Tagboard Producer, which is able to produce social media posts along with video. Of course, that piqued my interest because that's kind of what I want to do online. That's what I want to do in a virtual graduation ceremony. I want to display graphics. I want to drag and drop different videos. I want to pause and start videos, and I want to include the Tagboard social media stuff that we did before. The end game is to have something like this, where you see the video of the graduates or whatever the speech is, that sort of thing, and at the bottom you can see there a tag board and a social media post of, hey, congratulations, Joan, you are now a graduate. So Mission College has decided to combine all of those things. And as I will talk about later, it will involve StageClip, will involve Tagboard, and will involve a software company called Wirecast. So it's a lot of elements to put together, but you'll see kind of how they start fitting together in a moment. Let's talk about the elements of graduation. And this is for whether it's online or in person. You have the procession, you have the open. You have your platform party, which is your board of trustees, along with your president, along with your chancellor, your 2 academic and classified presidents, and you have your valedictorian and your ASG president. You obviously want to recognize your faculty who've done a great job of not only teaching the students over their time at places like Mission College, but also the fact that at our college alone, we probably moved 600 classes online in a matter of 2 to 3 weeks. And that should be a lot of recognition for this faculty. They did a great job of moving our college online. We do something unique at Mission College. We have students from 33 different countries. We actually have an international greeting. So we have students saying welcome. They come up to the stage podium and they say welcome in different languages. And that's kind of a neat thing. Obviously, we do the Pledge of Allegiance. We do some welcomes from our chancellor and our president. We give out awards for our faculty and our associate faculty of the year and our trustee. And then, of course, there's the speeches, the valedictorian, and our keynote speaker, which this year is going to be Damian Trujillo, who hosts a local show on our NBC affiliate and also speaks to the Latinx community. All that part right there, if it needs to go online, it needs to be recorded somehow, some way. And we haven't even gotten to the graduates yet. We have about 1,200 graduates at Mission College, and we want, again, make this engaging. So we want to somehow collect all this graduate information, whether it's a picture, whether it's a statement, whether it's a video, and then combine that with all those things you see above. That is a lot of labor intensive. I know a lot of you are just going, uh-oh, that is a lot of stuff to do. That's why we kind of brought StageClip in here, and also why we're breaking it down just a bit. Before we got to that point, we also looked at other companies around there. If you guys are familiar with avatars, there's a company called Second Life, where each graduate would be an avatar, and then they watch a virtual ceremony. I kind of like the idea, our graphic designer kind of liked the idea, but also that's why we have buy-in, and also buy-in from the students. And they were like, I'm not real sure about that. Then we looked at a company called Marching Order, because our sister college, West Valley College, was also looking at Marching Order. Basically, they provide audio over slide decks. So they will say, you know, Jose Martinez, business college graduate, and they will say their name. From there, we were looking around at different companies, and luckily, because we had a student on our student graduation committee, she found this company called StageClip. And we're like, oh, wait, they educate all the graduate part of that and take all of that out of it and leaves us to just do the platform speeches and the valedictorian speeches and the keynote speakers, et cetera, et cetera. We were very piqued and looked into StageClip. So before I turn it over to Ian, I'm going to kind of say what here at Mission College has done, and it's very much around organization. You need to be organized, because otherwise things are going to go in 4 or 5 different directions, and you're not going to know what's going on. So first off, because I come from a TV background, I built out a shot list. And as you can see from the previous screen, this is my shot list. These are all the things I need in order to have a successful virtual graduation. I also created a file collection along with our ETS team on OneDrive. We use an internal drive. You can also use box.com or Google Drive. That's a place to collect all the videos. We also have been having weekly meetings with our graduation committee. That is just to keep everybody on the same page, and also to work through problems that are going to bounce up. I work with my graphic designer to create standalone screens, and she has been great about putting things in a very consistent branded format. The small things like, don't forget to follow us on Facebook. Hey, graduation coming. Hey, here comes the platform party. Those type of small things, it just adds a little professionalism to your product. Also, we had to kind of decide, how are we going to contact the different speakers and presenters? How do we contact the students? We got a list of 1,200. Now, how do we manage that list? And obviously, we need to let the campus know that, hey, we're having a virtual graduation. So of our 1,200 graduates, we expect to have about 600 RSVP and say, hey, you know what? We really are excited about being part of your virtual graduation. And that list we will send off to StageClip. Some tips for when we send out requests to our speakers, like our commencement speaker and our valedictorian, and our faculty, congratulating the graduates. We give them some tips on nicer, more professional looking videos. Realize this, the videos are not going to be perfect. They're going to be on your phones, they're going to be at your house, and they are not going to be perfect. They're going to be pretty good sometimes, and they're going to surprise you, but they are not going to be high-end ESPN, NBC News quality. One thing we tell our people, record in landscape mode. That's the horizontal. I know when you want to do selfies, you have that vertical mode on your phone, but turn that 90 degrees. Also, many people, can record on their phones nowadays, and not back in the day when we had flip phones and pagers back when I was a young chap. But we asked them to record on their phones or on their computers. But also realize this, some people can't record in that manner. We're going to try to help those populations out and work with them best as possible to give them that same experience. We're also talking and actually using, we have a small TV studio that we don't use anymore that we're using to record our speeches with a nice Mission College backdrop, and then a microphone and a Nikon camera we have in the marketing office. And obviously we're going to use the precautions 6 feet away and also wipe down all the equipment, but that's just another way to do it. Another suggestion in regards to the phone, make sure it's in airplane mode, because if you get a text, it may throw something off. Lighting and sound are probably the two most important things in regards to your videos. Make sure your lighting has the window looking at you and not behind you, because it's going to wash out the face. So if the window is behind you, you're going to be very dark and the window is going to be very light. Also, take a second to frame the shot. Look at what's behind you. Look at, what's on your wall. Look at, if there's an animal behind you. All these little things you might not think about until you record it and go, oh, I should have done this. Also, try to keep the camera steady. That's very important. Maybe you have a book you lean it against. Maybe you connect it to a tripod. Maybe you lean it against a wall. There are a lot of different ways you do that. And that just makes the camera steady, so you don't have the Blair Witch Project where the camera bounces up and down. Check your audio. In college, I did a great video, and it had no audio. So we used subtitles for the entire video, which was about 10 minutes. So check your audio, make sure it's recording, do a test real quick. Okay, great, it sounds great. Make sure the microphone is not too far away from you or too close. And finally, unless you've done this many times in the past, practice, practice, practice. And one more time, practice. So we have these videos that we've collected. We have the content. We now, as we'll mention a little later, talking about StageClip, we have the information from our graduates. Here's the simple way. This is the simple way that most of you will do, but I also have an advanced course on the next slide. We get all the content on the left. StageClip assembles that, and it moves it off to YouTube Live and on the web. Simple as can be, along with some organization processes. Now, let's say you want to broadcast on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, your website, and a couple other platforms. Don't get scared away by this next screen. I just want to warn you, here are some ways to do that. We grab the content that we talked about earlier in regards to the speeches and the Pledge of Allegiance and all that. We grab the graduation clips the StageClip is going to put together for us. We grab the social media tagboard stuff. We assemble that all together. We use an outside software company called Wirecast, which combines both video and the tagboard stuff. And then we put that online to the various channels, whether that be Facebook Live or YouTube Live or our webcast. A lot of different ways you can do it. That's why I call this the advanced course. It took me all day of Saturday to find a company called Wirecast, which, cross our fingers, works. So, obviously your question is going to be, okay, how much does this cost? The question also I asked is, how many people are working on this? It's a very small crew. It's myself, a couple ETS, and our technology company helping to assemble the clips, and it's our graphic designer. But just to give you an idea of the cost, for StageClip, it's going to cost about $5,000. That's coming out of the Associated Student Activities budget. We had already planned to use Tagboard. That's about $1,500 to $2,000. Wirecast, which is that software company I talked about, it's about $500-600. And then to actually broadcast it, Facebook Live, YouTube Live, your website, etc., well, that's free. So, and then think about it this way. If you were going to have an actual graduation, the convention center alone is probably a $10,000 rental. You're not adding anything in regards to, printing tickets or, staffing or, the keynote speaker fee. There's a lot of other, costs alone. So with this virtual graduation, it's going to be a lot less money. There's going to be a little bit more work and it's a little bit different, but that's really what you're looking at. So now we're thinking about making our graduation online and making it meaningful. So now I am going to turn it over to Ian Hill over at StageClip to talk about the next portion. I've talked about getting it to the point of we now have a set of graduates eager to graduate and celebrate their graduation. Now I'm going to send it over to Ian. And just as a reminder, this is one of many solutions that are out there. This is just what we think works best for Mission College. So Ian, take it away, my friend.
All right. Thanks, Neil. We appreciate you giving the point of view from the institution. I think that's really important here as somebody who's gone through the experience to share that. Again, I want to thank everybody for joining us on the webinar. Thank Debbie and the NCMPR for having us as well. What I would like to do is I want to give everybody a little bit of a background of StageClip and what we do, and then expand a little bit further in how we were able to meet with Neil and bring a solution to him. So traditionally, what StageClip has done is we've provided 30-second individual clips to each graduate as they cross your commencement stage. Now, this is where we've made our bread and butter for a few years now. But obviously, in the current environment that we're in with COVID-19, we're not able to do that. So what we've been able to do is we provide the same videos, but we also do it using user-generated content. So we're still able to get that keepsake to your graduates and help schools like Mission College still honor those graduates and give them the recognition they deserve. So what I'd like to do is show a clip here of what one of those clips actually looks like.
This isn't how I thought I'd be graduating, but it's still pretty cool that I can share this moment with my friends and family. Go Seminole!
So my apologies if it's a little choppy. I think the bandwidth out there since we're all working from home. But that's what our core product is an individual keepsake that each graduate can use to share on social media with their loved ones, their friends, family, and so on. But again, in this environment we're in, we've expanded what we're able to do so we can help folks like yourselves have that commencement experience. So what we also been able to provide is we can capture platform speeches so leadership can address their graduates just like they would in a commencement field. And then building off of that, we're able to stitch all of that together into one virtual ceremony where you have your speeches on the front, your graduate content in the middle as if they're crossing that virtual commencement stage, and then finally an outro where typically what we're seeing is leadership conferring those degrees, because we just spent 4 years working very hard, and that is the most important part, is you are now officially a graduate. And so we're able to do that with everybody based on a few things. And so, we're going to talk about these options in a real world. Now, the user-generated content is a 12-second video that each graduate will upload with their phone. We also provide a optional Snapchat lens where if any of your graduates happen to not have their regalia, this is a way that they can still have that regalia on in their video, because that is another important piece of graduation. So the graduate then uploads their content and they're finished. We will also provide them with a personalized graduate slide that includes their name, their degree, a photo, and then some text. So what we're seeing here is a lot of times it's a quote or a thank you to mom and dad and so on. And then a couple other things that we can do is professional name calling. We have a great partnership with Marching Order where if you would like to have the names audibly read as you would at a commencement ceremony, we can partner with Marching Order and get that done as well. And of course, the virtual ceremony with roll call is the full ceremony. So what you're going to see here next is this is the Snapchat lens. And it's very simple and, again, optional. So what the graduates will do, they go to Snapchat on their phone, and they would have a unique code where they could download their lens that puts the cap and gown on, as you can see, with a nice branded backdrop. Because, again, that piece of graduation is extremely important to a lot of people, and we want to give them that experience. Now, a little bit more about the user-generated video. We will create a unique portal for each graduate that they can use to upload their photo and their video. So a little bit more about the video is there's a 12-second time limit to where they can address mom and dad, say thank you, and have that personalized message. We will also use this in the slide to stitch into the full ceremony. And a great opportunity if they have their regalia to still wear it and be proud, or they can use that Snapchat lens. And then we have a hashtag, Move the Tassel, where they can share across social media and join with their family, friends, colleagues in that great graduation moment. So the other aspect that we had discussed was the personalized graduate slide. Now, in the video you saw, the slide comes up first, and this is a way that you can see and have that visual of, for example, here's Elizabeth Gomez, and she's a master of human resource management. She has her quote, and it's a very nice picture, nice background, but it's a way to visualize there before she gives her personalized message. And this is something that, for example, with Neil, that we're customizing with him, with their school colors, logo, and everything that goes into it. Now, when we get all that content, we'll stitch it all together into your virtual ceremony. And so what that is we will take that graduate content and it'll cross the screen just like it would in a ceremony. And on the front of that, we'll capture your platform party. We'll put your awards if you have them, etc., followed by the graduates and then the outro. We'll organize all of this with you. So we'll tell you what you need and you'd send that in to us, and we'll walk with you every step of the way to put it all together. And there's really no setup by you, just a couple videos that you need to send our way and we'll stitch it together for you. So what you're going to see next is once the final clip is finished and everything's ready to go, you're going to have your ceremony date, and at a certain time, the video is going to play, and then once it's done, it'll be on demand to download, to share, as well as your individual clips. And this is what you'll see there. On the left, you see the Cal State LA site where you go in and you can search for your clip, for your friends, colleagues, and you'll be able to share them. The right slide you see is the user experience where they can share to any social media they like or download to whichever device is relevant to them, and make it really easy, because at the end of the day, what does an early 20s want to do with the big moment? They want to capture it and they want to share it. So we've made it really easy for them to capture and share one of the biggest moments of their lives. Now, a lot of people ask, you know, Neil talked about this is the budget, and that's great. I think from his perspective, that means a lot. But then there's the question of ROI. What do we see here? And for schools like Mission College, for yourselves, and many of our partner schools on our roster, you're going to have a great ROI here. What you're seeing on your screen are actual metrics to one of our partner schools, where they had an 83.5% participation rate. We will notify all of the graduates of when their clips are ready and so on, and they had nearly 92% click through those emails, so very high participation rates. But even more so, social media statistics. We know that social media is the new wave of brand awareness, of getting the word out there about your school. Now, based on 5,000 clips here, this school is seeing nearly 700,000 social media views. And that is a lot of brand awareness for anybody. We'll even give you your top 5 platforms. And what this can tell you is where people are sharing. So your graduates are sharing your brand. So where are they doing that? We'll give you your top 5 platforms, but we'll also say how much they're sharing on those. And this might help you direct some of your initiatives for future graduates that you hadn't come through admissions yet. And lastly, you'll see on the right, we can show you where in the world that sharing is happening. So different countries, different cities, and you never really know what kind of graph you have until you've seen, you know, a map of the world and you see these different countries and cities and see where that brand is taking you. So some great metrics behind, not only is this a great thing that the graduates will love, but even more so to have that return. So let's talk about timeline. Now, it's pretty simple. We'll start by talking about your ceremony date. What is that date that you want this to all go live? Now, we walk that back because we do have a 5-week production period, so we always want to keep that in mind when choosing that date. So we'll start there, and once we have that date, we'll look at today's date and the ceremony date, and you'll have an exact timeline of when everything is due and what exactly we need. Your students will have a portal that's open for 1 to 2 weeks where they will have the opportunity to upload their content. Now, we see the reason that it's open that long is we're going to have the highest participation possible for them. Now, the big question is, what do we need from you? We've talked about a lot of things and all these great things we can do, but what exactly do we need from you? So first and foremost, we need to know who's participating. So as Neil mentioned, they have 1,200 graduates, 600 of those are RSVPing. So he's going to send us a list of those 600, and each one of those 600 graduates will get their individual clip, will get access to the full virtual ceremony, the speeches, and so on. So we'll start there. And what we need is your student name, ID, email, degree or recognition, that's always important. And then school or ceremony. What that means is sometimes we have big populations of graduates, and we afford about 17 seconds per graduate in the virtual ceremony. Well, as you can imagine, I've worked with some schools where they have thousands of graduates, and I did the math on one. One of those videos is 11 days long. Well, we're not going to do that. We're going to work with you and divide those up into your different schools, ceremony, program, however you see fit, so that those videos are more palatable and they're still graduating with that cohort that they see every day. And then lastly, the last couple things we need from you, we need your ceremony footage, so your platform party, and then that virtual ceremony date. Once we have that, you can sit back and relax and walk through the process with us and give your approval, but we do all the heavy lifting from there. And then we wait for the big day where everything's released and your ceremony is here. Now, pricing specifically, I know Neil gave you, from his point of view, how they budgeted, but this is a way that, you know, we can show you the pricing. It's between $400 and $550 per clip. So this is on a per graduate basis. So it's done by population. And what that includes is you'll have that custom portal to capture the content for each individual graduate. You'll have a standard template for each of those 30-second individual keepsakes. There's the Snapchat integration, the personal slide, content moderation. This is very important, that we will not publish any videos onto the internet without specifically looking at them first and making sure that they're appropriate. We haven't had any issues yet, but we want to make sure that we don't. We will also handle the email notification. What that means is, sure, you're going to reach out as an institution and say, listen, we understand in the environment we're in, we can't have a physical ceremony, but you still deserve to be honored. So we'd like to honor you in a virtual way now and invite you, say, to walk at a later date or however. And so by giving them the heads up, they'll expect an email from StageClip, and then at that point, we'll reach out to them with instructions on how to upload their content, and then when everything's ready, how to get their content. So that's all included at the per clip price. And then the couple add-ons are the Snapchat lens is the $495. The full virtual ceremony is a $350 plus quantity fee. And then if you wanted to do the name reading, we can do that through marching order. So very simple pricing. Anybody who has a conversation with us, it's itemized, and so we are fully transparent, and we would be happy to answer further questions on any of that. So that's it from StageClip. You know, what I like to tell all of our partner schools that I work with is we understand that commencement is a big undertaking, and the last thing that we want to do is add something that's a burden to your day. Our rule of thumb is it takes you about 20 minutes of setup time on your end and a couple conversations. So we want to make sure that we're doing the heavy lifting so that you can go focus on all these other tasks in this environment, in this crazy world we're in right now. And so that's what we would like to help you with as well. So with that, I would like to turn it over to Neil and say thank you, everybody, for having me, and thanks for being here.
Thank you, Ian. And just sort of a recap of how this all will work. Mission College will kind of collect the platform party, the welcomes, the speeches, all that are pre-recorded. Let's be completely honest here. I've worked in TV. We could probably do this live at, 6 o'clock on May 22nd. For the graduates, it's going to be live, but for us on the West Coast, it's pre-recorded. So it's all on a YouTube clip that we're basically airing live, kind of like Saturday Night Live on the West Coast. So we grab the platform party and all those welcome pre-recorded speeches. We work with Ian and StageClip to get the graduation videos and their clips, again, pre-recorded. If we simply want to put it on YouTube Live, we do that. If we want to put it on YouTube Live and Facebook Live and a few other platforms, Mission College is using a company called Wirecast, and then we stream it across the world in the different areas from there. So that is kind of the breakdown of how Mission College is doing their virtual graduation. We are now going to open it up to questions because I can only assume there's a lot of questions out there in regards to how does this work? How did you come to your decision? Please do so on the screen to your right, and we will answer those as best we can. Also, on that Facebook group, I am a member of that, so I can answer any questions there. Obviously, that's my email over at Mission College. These are the two people over at StageClip who can answer your questions. Ian, who you've been talking to and listening to over the past half hour, 45 minutes. And then Chuck Russo, who's also on the call, the development specialist for StageClip. as well. So one thing I might want to add in regards to how we're breaking down our virtual ceremony, we're doing one large ceremony for the 600 graduates, but also we have special populations like EOPS, TRIO, MESA, which works with our students that want to transfer and that are very interested in the STEM majors. We have our nursing graduates who don't actually get to have their ceremony. And we're actually a pretty big hospitality management school, so we will probably break down our ceremony as well there in regards to that. So, and we're going to give those clips that StageClip has developed back to those different schools so they can share them out. So I am going to open it up to questions here, and we're going to go from there.
All right, Neil, Ian, this is Debbie. I'll come back in and field some of these questions. We do have several coming in, and we would also encourage our listeners that if and when you have more questions, go ahead and type them into the questions box, and we'll start going through them and try to see if we can't get to all of them before we're ready to close this webinar. So first up, Ian and Neil, thank you so much. Great information presented. And as you were talking, some questions were coming in, and you answered those questions already as you proceeded through your presentation. But we'll see if there's any points that need elaborating. But to start with, there's a question about closed captioning, and does this process support it?
I can speak to that because that was something that did come out in our conversations. Because it's a YouTube live clip, YouTube actually can create the closed captioning at the bottom of the YouTube live clip. Because when I put it on my website, I am essentially just putting a YouTube clip on our website. So there is going to be captioning there. One other thing we're doing post-op is we are actually taking the videos from StageClip, whether it or actually the pre-recorded speeches like from our chancellor and our president, along with our keynote speaker. We're putting those on YouTube, and actually we have a company that puts captioning to it. So we're actually going to have captioning on that as well that we can post both on YouTube and Facebook. So yeah, we've definitely know that we need to do that in regards to captioning. So that is something we are definitely doing.
Yeah, and I'll expand on that a little bit from the StageClip side. Is YouTube Premiere is what we use to publish, and the closed captioning is that function we use on YouTube. Any other specifics as far as captioning or even further video editing, like cutting and whatnot, we don't do any editing. So what we use the video that you send us. It's an easy rule of thumb for us.
Okay, we've got another question about the graduates needing to register for this process. Could you elaborate a little bit more on what platform does that for you and how that works?
Sure. So for us, your graduates don't register with us at all. You as an institution are telling us, you're going to send us a spreadsheet, and you're telling us who will participate. So I would say, to use the term, that would be you're registering them with us, and we will reach out to them. So for Neil's experience is a good example where he's reached out to his graduate population and asked who is going to RSVP, so who wants to participate. So that you take that list of those folks that responded, and you can use that as an example. Some institutions are saying, you know what, we would like to provide this for every single one of our graduates, and they're doing their whole population. Is solely up to you. What it comes down to is we use the list that you send us.
And one thing I might add to that is, even if a graduate does not fill out the, put up a video, put up a photo, put up a personal statement, if we've given that list to Ian and StageClip, they are still going to get a title screen that says, Jose Rodriguez, business degree, graduate. So they're still going to get something if we put them on that initial list. So even if they, don't feel comfortable putting their photo up or doing a video, they are still going to get something and have their name presented, during this virtual graduation.
Neil, can you remind us how you reached out to your graduates to determine who wanted to take part and remind us of the numbers, how many total you may have had and how many opted into this?
Well, we got our list from our admissions and records office that had everyone who had conferred a degree or a certificate both for our fall and spring, and that was a number right around 1,200. And then what I did is I used Constant Contact, which we use for our email marketing, and I have sent a couple different emails to that group of population saying, hey, please RSVP for the virtual ceremony. I collect a form stack which has their name, their G number, which is their student ID, and their email address. And then I combine that list with the original list and say, StageClip, here are the number of graduates that are interested in being part of our virtual graduation. I sent the email out recently, and within 6 to 12 hours, I got 40, 50 respondents. So, and I mean, the open rate was, after the first day, was about 50, 60%. So people see it right away because they're really interested in what graduation is. And then you see, what the numbers are. Obviously, we probably could do a graduation with 1,200 graduates, but as Ian said, that may take a while, and that's something internally that our campus has thought about. So that's why we've reached out to those graduates and asked them, do you want to be a part of this? And done our best efforts to get a hold of them and say, hey, we're really interested that you'd be a part of this. Also, another thing that we're doing on our campus is for those students that are RSVPing, we're providing them with a graduation t-shirt that we've done in years past. We are giving them some commemorative tickets, which are some nice stock tickets. We're giving them, actually, we're creating a graduation program, which we're going to give them as well. And then also giving them an option to buy the regalia as well. So we're doing a couple other things for those that are interested in actually being part of, a graduation in general. Obviously, with our student populations, especially at the community college, some just want to get the degree and move on with their lives. Some really want to celebrate this because we do something, that's, I don't think unique in the community college system, but really kind of interesting. We ask our students, are you the first in your family to graduate? Are you a parent, a grandparent? Were you working a full-time job? So we're trying to figure out how to capture that as well. And we're still working on the details to that. But we really want to celebrate our graduates and celebrate our students' accomplishments.
You mentioned the regalia, and there are a couple of questions about that. I know you got the Snapchat filter, but Neil, did Mission College, are you still sending out the graduation regalia to the students or not?
Well, we're giving them the option to purchase it. I know some colleges that we've talked to actually decided to purchase it for all their graduates, but we are, giving them that option.
Okay, then you did talk a little bit about it in the presentation about moderating content that's provided by the students. Could you talk a little bit more on how you ensure that inappropriate comments, posts, pictures are not visible during the live streaming?
Sure. The short answer is we look at every single one of them. Every single 12-second video that comes in, we look at it. We have a list of parameters that we run every single one of those videos by, not through the machine, but we literally look at all of them. And, the easy ones, nudity, swearing, any kind of vulgarities, clothing that might be inappropriate, anything along those lines, what'll happen is that video will be flagged. And when it's flagged, the graduate will get a notification that says your video was rejected, please upload again. But we have to tell them to keep in mind that once their portal closes to upload content, we will no longer accept any. So we give them the notice as soon as it's flagged so that they can go in and re-upload.
Okay, Neil, there are a couple of questions about the date of your graduation. Did you keep the same commencement date that you had, or did you move it?
Yes, we actually still kept the same graduation date. Our graduation date is May 22nd at 6 p.m. Live on the internet at missioncollege.edu. So yeah, we kept the same date. Obviously, we also started working on this in early March, so we had a little bit of lead time. Obviously, you know, with StageClip, they need some time to, you know, turn some things around. So maybe, you know, you might have to move your graduation, you know, back a week. But, you know, I think, you know, for us, we were able to, you know, do some organization things, get some steps moving, and do it. There is a very short turnaround still in regards to getting the speeches, and such not into a usable format. You know, we probably are giving, you know, our president and our chancellor 2 weeks to record a 5 to 7 minute video and speech. So, you know, obviously with everything else that's going on, you know, they have to devote some time to that, and also to reach out to our keynote speaker and say, hey, we kind of need your keynote speech a month earlier. So yeah, there's some timelines that we had to do, but again, it comes back to the organization part. StageClip does a very good job of organizing, you know, here are the timelines that you need to get this project to the finish line. But also internally, we came up with a shot list and said, okay, we need this by A, B, C, D. And actually, our internal deadlines are even before the StageClip deadline, because we don't want on the 14th of the month and everything's due the 15th going, uh-oh, now we need to do this, now we need to do this. We want to give ourselves some time to kind of some tweaks with some things. So really it's about organization and, you know, sticking to timelines. And I know that's tough at a community college, and, you know, a college in general, but also the biggest thing I tell people is make sure that there's someone in charge of the entire ceremony and that can make the decisions and the hard decisions on their own without. We do want feedback, and we welcome feedback from a lot of different areas, but at some point we need to make the decision and move, and that's part of the decision-making process, and having one person in charge going, okay, this is due on this day, there's no wiggle room, let's go.
All right, what about music rights? Laura at Central Wyoming College is saying that, you know, their college would like to have some of the traditional music played in the virtual graduation ceremony. Are there copyrights on the songs such as Pomp and Circumstance and Fanfare?
It's funny you ask. We use Pomp and Circumstance as our standard music. The owner of the content is the school. So for us, that permission comes from the school side. So all we're doing is putting this together. You're sending us the assets, we're putting it together, and then simply sending it back to you. So for us, it's nothing we are going to personally advertise or use for our own purposes whatsoever. We're just the machine building it.
And in regards to Mission College and the rights question in regards to the music, I know our ETS, or our technical services people, have looked into that, and we may, you know, purchase some, you know, other generic music in that regard, but we are cognizant of that fact. So
Okay, we've got an interesting question about the student reaction. So how did your students, Neil, react to the prospect of a virtual ceremony instead of in person?
well, I mean, I can only go by what, you know, the response rate is from, you know, the emails that we sent out, you know, and then also hearing from our different categorical agencies. But I think it's kind of a mixture of things. I still want to celebrate my accomplishments. I still want to say, hey, great job. But there's also some people that simply, are, want to have something in person. So one thing we have done is we've reached out to the graduates and said, for 2021, when we do our spring commencement, then, knock on wood, everything is back to relative normality. They are invited to the 2021 ceremony to be a part of it. So that is the question there. What's been the reaction? I've had some areas that go, yeah, what, our students really don't want a virtual graduation. We're just going to either do something a little later on or not do something. But I mean, looking at the response rate just from the first initial email that we sent out way back when, it had a 60% open rate within 12 to 24 hours. So people are interested in it, and then we've got graduates that say, hey, you know what, I'm interested in doing that from there. So I think we're trying to make it as positive as possible, and I think with the StageClip, it's really something we haven't done in the past at Mission College. We have not let individual students kind of have their own voice on this virtual graduation ceremony. We have just read their name, they've walked up, shook the hand of someone, and then moved off to get a picture at the other end of the platform. So this kind of gives it a little bit different feel, and also, as Ian showed, the analytics alone, 5,000, how many ever graduates there were, got 700,000 views. So these students are sharing this stuff and really excited about being a graduate, something they didn't have in the past. So even say next year when we have a regular ceremony, this might be something we want to do with StageClip in the future as another enhancement of, hey, congratulations, you're now a Mission College graduate. And oh, by the way, speaking completely from a marketing director's standpoint, this is great brand management. If it's getting out to 700,000 people, that is great. 700,000 views. That is great brand awareness, especially here in the Bay Area, where we're one of a dozen schools. So there's a lot of positives to this, both from an institutional aspect and a student perspective.
And Debbie, from the StageClip point of view, we reached out to a lot of our partner schools that we had worked with in the past and asked them and their seniors and said, what do you think? What do you feel about this? And, the response that we've gotten is they understand the position that everybody's in, and that a physical ceremony is just something that we can't do. But we feel like when you're reaching out as an institution and saying, we're not replacing this, but we feel that you put in the work and we need to honor you now because that's the least we could do. And we'd love to work with you at some point in the future to invite you to a physical ceremony. That's a lot more palatable because they're saying, yes, we would love to have a commencement, but thank you for, honoring us in this way, and we would love to participate in the future. We found that response is, okay, we get it. So again, not replacing. This is just what we're doing right now until we get on the other side of this thing, and then we can truly have you in person.
Okay, we do have a couple of questions. Neil, you mentioned the T-shirt that you are sending to the graduates. Couple of questions related to that. Do they have a certain theme that fits with the current situation? What's your budget for those? And how are you distributing them to them?
So for the T-shirts, we came up with and we do this every year for our graduation, is a theme for our graduation. And our theme this year was back to our roots, which, you can probably do the really, long way of saying, maybe this is back to our roots and doing something very simple, and really celebrating our graduates. But we kind of went with what the student government and the graduation committee came up with in regards to before all this happened, what they wanted to do in regards to their theme. So we've created, with my graphic designer, created a a logo, which is going to be on the tickets, which is going to be on the program, along with the t-shirt. Now, in regards to the t-shirt, there are a billion different companies out there. We've had partnerships with a couple different companies in the past in regards to t-shirts and how many we're making. That's part of the reason why we're doing the RSVP too, because honestly, if we made 1,200 t-shirts, the majority of them are probably not going to be picked up for a variety of reasons. So we're moving down to a manageable list of about 600 to be able to give out those t-shirts. What we are, and we're still in the working stages of how we get these graduation packets to students, but we do grab and go lunches 3 times a week on campus. So we have kind of a roundabout on our campus here in Silicon Valley. And, it might be kind of that same thing where a student shows their student ID number, we check it out on a list, and we give them a bag that has their graduation packet in it, where there's social distancing, there's gloves, there's masks, that sort of thing, to be able to do all that. But we're probably going to do something like that on campus, where they drive up and pick up their graduation packet.
Okay, we have a couple of questions about, once again, the timeline for production from beginning to end. Kind of reminding them again what that timeline looks like, and is there a way to expedite it? I think there are a couple of questions in here that are saying, what if we have everything ready for you right away? Is there any way to kind of expedite or not when it comes to the timeline?
Sure. So the timeline of 5 weeks is set in stone, and the reason is it's not about the asset collection. It's not at all, actually, because the asset collection we feel is the easiest part. It's a number of things. One, the student portal needs to be open long enough to have as much participation as possible. So that's one aspect. Two is we have hundreds of schools that we're onboarding right now and releasing their content with. And so that takes time and bandwidth as well. So it's a combination of the portal. That last week, we need that last 7 days to finalize and polish. And as you can imagine, while we're putting these together, we're getting your approval for various items. We'll send over and you take a look and say, yeah, that's great. With everything that's going on, we're allowing for time that perhaps some folks aren't getting back to us instantly. And so we do understand that we want to get this done as quickly as possible, but there's just not a way that we can accommodate anything inside of that 5-week time frame.
Okay, Ian, you had talked about video lengths and how you're able to cut down depending on the total number of graduates. But we do have several questions about video lengths. Neil, can you talk about, I think you indicated 600 graduates. So how long is your video likely to be? And are there any guidelines for what you think is a good length or too long?
Well, I mean, if we did kind of the math, and we did kind of the math on the back of a napkin, we are thinking our graduation ceremony is probably going to be about 90 minutes, we're thinking. So in regards to the keynote speakers and our chancellor and our president, we're telling them do 5 to 7 minutes. Our international welcome is, less than a minute. There's a couple other things that are, a minute, minute and a half, and we kind of, add all those up. We package all that together and give that to Ian and StageClip. And then now the videos for the student, they can be as short, and Ian, correct me if I'm wrong on this, they can be as short as 4 to 5 seconds, which is just the student's name and the degree, up to, give or take 12 seconds, where the student says, yay, I'm a graduate of Mission College. I am really excited. Thanks, Mom and Dad. So, we did the, back of the napkin, mathematics, and, it looks like it's going to be about an hour, 90 minutes. And then another thing, and I mean, Ian might be able to talk to this in regards to all the graduates. The graduates aren't going to be in a random order. On the clip of the graduates, they're going to be in alphabetical order by their last name. Correct, Ian?
Well, yours will, because that's the order that you sent them in.
Yes.
The order, it's whatever order they're sent in on the spreadsheet, which I can tell you is nearly 100% is alphabetical, but we can separate. They're whatever order you decide, just send it over in whatever order you choose on the spreadsheet.
Gotcha.
And I can tackle just quickly the video length from the StageClip end is you have 5 video slots for the speeches. So I use the term speeches loosely. That is your platform party. So some folks are doing like one school is doing a bagpipe procession as one of their videos. It's whatever you want. You have up to an hour of 5 individual videos, so 5 hours, that you can give us whatever content. They can be speeches, they can be a procession, Pledge of Allegiance, national anthem, however you choose to use that time. But remember, we don't edit or cut anything. So if you had 12 speakers you had to fit in, if you could put those 12 into a couple videos, then we can certainly do that. So that's the rule of thumb.
Okay, so we've got a question about, Neil, the decision process that you used and you touched on. Educational institutions can be slow, admittedly, to settle on an approach. How were you able to expedite the process, or did the choice feel rushed at all?
I don't think the choice felt rushed. Obviously, to get it to the finish line, it feels a little rushed, just because now we're a month away, and okay, we need to step on the gas a little bit. But I mean, our college is very lucky in the fact that our president, Daniel Peck, is very keen on getting campus buy-in. Sometimes, obviously, with college decisions, they do take a while, but our administration is very, very keen on buy-in. So we've talked to the student leaders and the student activities areas. We've talked to our categoricals. We've created this graduation committee that was already, in fact, built out before this. And that's why, I showed in one of the previous slides of, let's look at other options, let's see what else is out here. And, when we finally got to the decision of using StageClip, I feel really good about the decision, because actually we had a student in our student activities office find this department, this company. So using that, as the example, it's very, heartening to me that, we've, gone back and forth and discussed, okay, how do we do this? I mean, we've talked about other options, how do we, add maybe, a Spanish language component to this, because we have a high, Hispanic population or a Vietnamese population. And if we had more time, we might look into that a little bit further. But at the same time, we only got now a month to get this, going and live on air. So, using the, very simple, acronym KISS, keep it simple. We're trying to keep this as simple as possible and streamlined as possible, but we definitely did get a buy-in from a lot of different areas. And, our graduation committee in general, has classified staff, faculty on it, administrators, all that. And, it's different pieces of the puzzle. And we've definitely been in contact with our, executive team, executive cabinet. And then also, here's the funny thing, West Valley College, our sister college, was kind of doing something else. And then they saw what we were doing. They're like, hey, you know what? I think we're going to go, do what Mission College is doing. So, you know, it's you know, it's yes, it is slow sometimes at a college, but at the same time also it's very much, you know, just the institution alone is very much about buy-in. So, you know, we kind of work with that to begin with.
All right. I think we'll take just a couple more questions. We see that people are having to drop off, but we still do have some questions coming in. So if you've got any burning questions that you really desperately want answered, please go ahead and put them in the questions pane now. There are several questions about what the finished product looks like. So Ian, I don't know if people are interested, if they can contact you, or Neil, perhaps you have samples of some of the platform speech videos that may have already been submitted to you, but there are some questions about what does the final product look like, and are there samples available for them to view?
Sure. We are just releasing our final product now with our first wave of partner schools that came on board. We webinared this a few weeks ago, and so after this production period, we're now releasing things, and we do have examples that I'd be happy to share out. So if you want to get a hold of me, I would be happy to send over some links of what we have, walk through anything with you, answer questions, and so on. Because yeah, it would be awesome to show you a final product instead of just talking about it. So I can certainly provide that.
Yeah, we're recording the speeches right now. You know, obviously that's going to be up to, you know, the first part of May when we do it. But, you know, the finished product is going to be kind of a semblance of videos, hopefully, you know, as professional as possible. Again, as I said, you know, the videos are not going to be perfect. And then it's going to be with those 10-second clips from StageClip of the graduates, you know, congratulating themselves and congratulating their families, making it very, you know, kind of cool virtual ceremony.
Okay, we've got two other questions then we'll take, and then we'll encourage those still on the line with us that if you have additional questions, Neil and Ian, you've posted your emails, and I know that they would be more than happy to work with you one-on-one to answer additional questions. So two final ones. About the Snapchat filters, this individual has heard that their Snapchat, it's taking a very long time to secure new filter requests. Is that true? Do you know that to be true?
Not from what we know. We've had zero issues with Snapchat. We have our own personal person. We have our own guy that builds the Snapchat lens for us and only for us. So so that's not an issue. And then the code we build is just something that we'll provide to you so that when you download the lens, it knows it's you and it applies it directly to you. So we have had zero issues and lots of testing and communication with Snapchat to make sure that there's no issues, and it's actually coming out really, really well.
Okay, fabulous. And then the final question we'll take today would be, how important do you think the live streaming aspect is?
I mean, that's a very good question to ask. I think to get kind of a build-up, I think the live streaming is very important. Because if you say, oh, go look at the clip of graduation when you have time, will they do that, or will they kind of, you know, fast forward past all the speeches to their graduation clip that's 10 seconds? That's why, you know, it's tape delayed, really. I mean, that's what we're doing over YouTube, is we're producing a tape delayed broadcast on the live stream, whether it's, you know, YouTube Live or, you know, my complicated, you know, formula of Facebook Live and the website and YouTube Live and that sort of thing with Wirecast. But again, you know, you want the students to kind of experience the whole situation, whether it's, you know, the nuggets of wisdom from our chancellor, our president, our keynote speaker, to celebrating their classmates, being excited or realizing that, it's a really special moment to, that girl who sat next to you for the last 2 years, that you kind of knew, you had a couple projects with, but this was a really touching moment for her, and kind of feeling that. And I think that's part of that live situation. I think is very important, and I think you lose that, especially when you don't actually have a ceremony. But you especially lose that if you say, hey, by the way, go check out the video after the fact. We are going to have the keynotes speakers and the graduate clips on our own YouTube page. And also they're going to be on StageClip's page for, I think you said a year or so as well. So they get those as well. But I think, having that live, kind of excitement kind of builds up to it too. And really, we aren't sure what's going to happen. I mean, to be perfectly honest, we have a pretty good theory of how this is all going to work. And we think it's going to go out with a hitch. But having worked in television number of years I have, there's always going to be a bug or something that's going to happen. And that's kind of fun too, and kind of exciting. So, I just want to thank, you guys for, hosting us for this. And Ian, I don't know if you have any other thoughts on that.
We like the aspect of a live stream and a live video, but it's something that we don't do strictly because of the liability that comes along with it and the risk. And so we stay out of it. What we like to do is play it as live. You're sending us the videos that you would normally be having the speeches on stage, and so we'll play that on your day at a certain time. It will play as live. So everything will be pre-recorded, but it's going to play at that certain time, and we're going to have everybody congregate there, and they can talk about it on social media, the YouTube functionality with the chat. So there's a number of ways that we can get all those people to one place as if they were in an actual commencement. As far as hosting, after all of that is released, we do host it for 13 months. So we're absolutely able to have you share it for those 13 months, and then the hosting can be taken over at any time. I also do want to say thank you to everybody. Thank you to Debbie for putting this on. We really appreciate it. We know that there's trying times out there, and what it really came down to for us was, how can we help? And we feel like, as much as this isn't the perfect solution, that this is a way that, again, in the times we're in, we can still help you honor those graduates. And we know that that's the most important thing, because without them, none of us would be here. So we're happy to be able to be a part of that honor.
And I might want to add one other thing to the live aspect. We're actually going to use Tagboard as our social media platform, and we're going to share those tweets and Facebook posts and Instagram posts live as the ceremony is going on. So there's going to be also that aspect of the live ceremony that we haven't done before. But yeah, I definitely want to thank Kim, who's on the back end with this webinar, along with Debbie, who has been hosting it for us, and thank obviously Ian as well. So.
Well, with that, gentlemen, Ian and Neil, we want to thank you again very, very much on behalf of NCMPR's Board of Directors. Let us extend our sincere gratitude for you putting together this presentation during a time where we know that you also have your hands very, very full. And to add one more item to your to-do list was an awful lot for us to ask. But we certainly appreciate your willingness to jump in and get this presentation done. So with that, I once again want to encourage you, if you have additional lingering questions for Neil and Ian, please feel free to reach out to them. I know they'd be happy to help. We ask that you continue to visit NCMPR's website for more resources to help you navigate issues related to COVID-19. You will find on our website links to shared resources, our brand new podcast, our blog, listserv, and other tools. We encourage you to check back every few days for updates and additional webinars we do hope to provide in this series in the coming month. In the meantime, thank you, everyone. We hope you stay well, and we wish you a very good rest of the day.